So this video is ironically kind of like a mirror to what the current energies are with this Aquarius Sun Leo full moon that we just experienced last night at like 12:30 Mountain Time. I think what would it be, 2:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and so on. Wow, intense. I'm really familiar with the Leo Aquarius axis. Leo's my ascendant sign. I have a stellium in the 11th house. My north node is in the 5th house. My south node is in the 11th house. So I think it's one of the most, one of the axes that I'm most familiar, or most interested in, like studying and trying to figure out. So this one specifically deals with ego dissolution for sure. So you take the 5th house, which is self-expression, creativity, pleasure, casual sex, children, birthing in this new childlike energy. Is like very playful. It's like where your hobbies are and stuff. It's like expressing yourself. And then 11th house would be more of a universal consciousness, like a more wiser, broader view of things. So you have like Leo, who is very much like ruled by the sun, like me, this is all about me, like the world revolves around me, this is an experience that I'm happening within myself right now, and it's so intense. And Aquarius is kind of like, the cold and reserved, and like, this is actually all happening because it's for a universal reason. And Aquarius actually struggles with like a God complex. So I think at this time we're really kind of balancing this axis of not getting too caught up in this like God complex where we're like, I owe it to the world to, use my craft to like create a better thing. Like I have this higher perspective on life, and I need to make sure that I use that to better life. It's like a humanitarian service style, but sometimes they can get wrapped up in their own head as like, oh, I am so knowledgeable, and that's why they're fixed. I mean, they're both fixed signs, but they get so stuck up in their head of like, not me, but I guess its own awareness of itself, like the universe experiencing itself. It's funny because like Aquarius is such an interesting sign. They're almost so detached from having a body at times, and they're so mental that a lot of Aquariuses that I know, and this I'm not like hating. Like, I think it's funny personally. They don't they don't eat the healthiest, or they don't like exercise necessarily as much as they should, or they don't like do things that really promote their body's self-care. They're so like stuck on like mental stimulation and learning, which is beautiful. Each thing has its own like pros and cons for sure. So this video that I'm creating right now is actually a perfect mirrored example of trying to maintain the balance between the two. So I have this like Leo side of me that sometimes, like, say for example, if I was like writing down things that resonated with me with the Leo moon, there would be times where I'm writing where it's like this egotistical side of me where I'll be seeing myself from an outside source, like down on my body, watching myself write this with like a sense of pride. And it's really weird and it's unhealthy because in that moment I'll catch myself and I won't be flowing. Nothing will really be coming out. I'll just be limiting myself and my own potential by like being outside of my body and thinking of like how I want to be seen. And that's how we're really struggling emotionally right now. This Leo full moon is like, oh, I want to be seen so badly, but we're coming off as awkward, really awkward, because we're in the literal dead of winter. Like nothing is happening. This is like fixed winter energy. Like it's literally snowing outside right now. Like I've been stuck inside for days and I have this want to express myself, but I'm not balancing it with this natural flow state. So Aquarius, so for example, say on the flip side of that, if I'm journaling, I'll get in this mindset of like, I write something good and I get stuck on something that sounds really great, and I'm like, and it's just the truth. Like I'll be like, oh wow, like I'm really glad that I'm bringing this message across to the people, and then in that instant I automatically cut myself off from any sort of creativity and any sort of flow again. And it's like, to balance yourself from understanding this, like it's a humbling axis. We have to humble ourselves, take a deep breath, relax into our bodies, balance between our heart and minds, and really just learn how to humbly be that in-between state. It actually really reminds me of the song, one of the songs from Nako Bear, and he says, I am no master, I know nothing, but I am a servant and I know something. And that's how we must approach life. Something collectively that I find interesting when it comes to this moon is I've noticed that we've been focusing very much on, at least in my life, we've been focusing way too much on trying to prove to older generations, like prove ourselves to older generations, and like if our knowledge is accurate and blah blah blah, and instead we're not nurturing what's to come. I feel like it's very important at this time to focus on, and it's another reason why this like emotional side of us has to focus on creating and building like a new legacy to come. Fifth house is children. It's birth. It's having children, which makes sense of the creative process as the ultimate creativity we can have as a human. So I think it's a very important time for us collectively to understand that we're never going to be able to like receive what we want by like begging for it, approval. We're never going to seek approval from these older generations that are having their completely different, separate experience. And like, I can't imagine what it's like to be at a higher age, see the world for what it was from a different perspective, and understand what's going on now. Like, I can't imagine. It's very hard. It's got to be very hard. So I'm trying to empathize with these older generations that are also really hard for me to empathize with at the same time, because I'm like, no, like, I want this change to happen. We need to stop fighting it so hard and like release and like let it, and it's all for the greater good of humanity. Where was I going with that? Oh, I really feel we should focus on what we're bringing to younger generations. This Capricorn energy that has been so prominent over the last month and a half, it's that it's time to take responsibility. Stop playing this victim of like, I'm sorry that you feel awkward because like you've been having trouble balancing this ego axis, but like it is time to take responsibility and bring that out into the world. You need to learn how to balance that, which is why it's Aquarius season, why it's in the dead of winter, why we're in fixed energy. You have to be able to sit with yourself for a long period of time and understand that Capricorn is teaching us patience. This isn't going to happen overnight, but we are ready to start taking responsibility, start bringing our craft out into the open. And that's why it feels like we're literally on fire inside, but the outside is winter wonderland. It's so funny because I know someone who like was born on like around this time, and it's so interesting when you start noticing like specific dates as compared to like how a person acts and how they present themselves to the world. It's a perfect mirror, and it's crazy, and it can help. Like, dates are amazing. Like, you can really understand a person just from the day they were born, and that's a whole other thing that I don't even need to get into right now. But I do want to draw a card from your Work Your Light Oracle deck. My beautiful sister Sabrina sent me this in the mail, and it was like the best gift ever. I love her. So, what's the message that we have during this full moon transit in Leo? What can we all learn from this transit? Unbound. Releasing soul patterns, contracts, and past lives. 100% resonates with me. So yeah, we've really been coming into this new version of ourselves. We've been releasing this old story that has been a definitive part of who we are and how we presented ourselves to the public. This has been a part of us for at least 10 plus years. So it depends on who you are, but like for me, the karmic healing that I'm doing right now is about at least 10 years old when I started making up this version of myself and setting with that and being like, this is who I am, this is my story. We are dissolving that right now. There is no story. Like, do you want everything that you've wished for? Because it's not who you are currently, so therefore you obviously have to release something. Yeah, releasing your past lives. When I moved to Colorado, I it was on a hunch that I would learn something here, you know? And when I got here, I felt like I was on vacation, and it was like all fun and games. And then I realized how much of myself was dependent upon where I lived before. And it's such an awkward phase for me right now to be constantly trying to manifest this next part of my chapter, but simultaneously thinking that this past version of who I was such a definitive thing and such a factual part of my ego. It's fascinating. We've really got to let go. You have to have faith. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but you have got to have faith that the next chapter is in your best interest. Like, what you want deep in your core, we are literally always manifesting something, and what you want deep in your soul obviously isn't who you are right now, or you wouldn't be wishing for it. So why would you not want to just get rid of what is trying to wean its way out of your life? You know, and you might be meeting people right now that are really triggering you and bringing up these things because Capricorn is like, are you actually ready? Like, are you ready for what you want? Like, I have this in store for you, but like, can you make the changes that it costs? I've been watching The Witcher, and it's so good. But just a part about magic, you know, in order to create magic, you have to sacrifice something else, and it's the truth. Shed the snakeskin. Shed it. Like, let's go into this together, you know. And you've got new people are going to be coming into your life, you know. We are creating through this supermoon a new safe space and a new group of people, a new community that is going to offer us a safe space in order to flow and to create like what you are. Like, we have to dissolve all of that past stuff because like you were the one holding yourself back all along. There's a reason why we feel lonely and we feel like we're dying for community right now, and it's because who you were before wasn't ready. You know, you had to learn, you had to make all these child mistakes and understand like who you really are at a soul level to be able to come back as a reinvented version of yourself and think, wow, if I would have had this opportunity 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to make the same use out of it. And it's like, this winter is us really getting intimate with ourselves, you know, in between our head, Aquarius, in between that and our heart, understanding the balance between those two things and being able to manifest this centered version, an aligned version of ourselves so that we can create, so that we can express ourselves beautifully. Like, I understand how frustrating it is to know your worth deep down inside, but also to question it all the time and to not be in situations that necessarily make you feel like you can. But why are you in those situations? Why do you keep putting yourself in that situation? Such a good card. It's time to unbound ourselves, you know? 5th house, pleasure. Let's release those chains so that we can truly experience pleasure and have fun. Capricorn and Saturn are not exactly like placements that are like all fun and games, you know, but if we want to get back to that, we have to push through. I'm also going to draw an animal medicine card right now as well. Okay. Got the buffalo, number 19. Okay. Let's see. Prayer and abundance. All animals are sacred, but in many traditions, white buffalo is the most sacred. The appearance of white buffalo is a sign that prayers are being heard and that the sacred pipe is being honored, and that the promises of prophecy are being fulfilled. White buffalo signals a time of abundance and plenty. What we want is on the way. That's kind of like what I already said. Everything is working out in our greatest good. Everything, if you're putting in the hard work that it's taking, and I know you are, I know you want that recognition. I see you. I know you're doing it. It's tough. Abundance is just on the other side of this. We're in the releasing process. I always think that, of course, mutable energy will come right after fixed energy, because once you sit with yourself and you stand true to yourself and what resonates with your heart and your mind, that mutable energy comes in strong and brings you beautiful changes. It also says, if you have drawn the buffalo card, you may be asked to use your energy in prayer. You may also be called upon to be an instrument of someone else's answer to a prayer. This could portend a time of recognizing the sacredness in every walk of life. Wow. Very true. And I love that, with that polarity as well, because Leo focuses so much on the self, but we also need to understand that we do fit into that universal web, and everyone is going through the same thing. You might just be someone else's karmic connection. You might just fit in their life to learn a specific lesson, and you have to honor that and understand what they're going through. You also need to take responsibility. This isn't necessarily a time to play victim. Why is this person showing up in your life? What are they teaching you? I love that it says that, you should recognize the sacredness of every walk of life. And this isn't just about other people. This is about all life on our planet right now. Like, we need to connect deeply with every facet, all aspects of Mother Nature. We really need to understand how similar they all work on a specific plane. And I think this is like the perfect card for that. It says that most assuredly this time will bring serenity amidst chaos if you pray in earnest for enlightenment and power of calmness and give praise for the gifts you already have. Buffalo medicine is a sign that you achieve nothing without the aid of the Great Spirit, and that you must be humble enough to ask for assistance and then be grateful for what you receive. You've been asking for this for a while. It might not have showed up the way that you expect it to, but it's coming in, and you're gonna see how valuable it all is in just a matter of time. Just a little bit more patience. What a beautiful card. I love that. This the unbound great white buffalo. I love that. When I was growing up, we used to joke about this might have just been me and like maybe two other people, but I always heard who's your great white buffalo? Like, what's the unobtainable person that you want but you can never have? Like, what is your great white buffalo? It's coming in. It's coming in right now. You got to release those old soul patterns so that you can actually create that new version of yourself that you want. It's a beautiful new moon. That's all I have for the current energies. That's what I'm experiencing. If it resonates with you, let me know in the comments. I'm super curious to know what you're going through at this time. Crazy times, universally. I love it, though. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.